You're not on the field, court, or ice. You are on the couch. From PG to DC, this is Coaching from the Couch with your host, CWall. Delivering coverage for all DC sports teams from the hometown perspective. Nats, Skins, Mystics, DC United, Washington Wizards, Caps, Bowie State.
My name's CWall, I'm a PG girl. Down for my skins, I don't know if you heard. If you like watching sports, then I am your girl. Sit down on the couch if you not on the field. Cold on the ice, pick any sport that you want. Know that I cover it tight. What would you like? From baseball to football and more. The list can go on the whole night. Big shouts out to my HBCU fam. Never forget who I am through the wins and the losses, the highs and the lows. We gotta stay strong, so I stay 10 toes. Make the competition back. The way I kick it make them mad, man. CWall and we live and direct. Sit back on the couch and relax. Come on.
Good evening. Happy Thursday. Welcome to Coaching from the Couch, live from the WBGR Sports Network studios. I am your host, CWall, and tonight I have, as always, some of my CWall team members are in the building. Joy is here, Sabrina is here, and guess what, y'all? Security is back. We got securities in the building. Yes, damn it. He's here in person. He's always commenting online, but it's always a blessing to have everybody here. But it's really, really good to see you, Derv. So, before we get started, because y'all already know what it is, as soon as you think there is a dull moment in DC sports, guess what? It's not. It's just not. So, if you have some of your family, friends, colleagues, I don't know, if you're chilling, hanging out at the bar, and somebody got on a Wizards hat or something like that, you might want to tell them to tune in to Coaching from the Couch so we can get the live commentary going. We will be checking to see any questions and comments that you all have. Thank you so much. And we're getting ready to get started. First, a couple things. Now, Joy's going to have to remind me. Shout out to Umar Boxing in Baltimore. Just hit us up with this shirt. The great conversation. I love the slogan. Shout out to him. Love it, love it, love it. Alrighty. Let's get started. I was going to say, okay, what should we go with first? But I'm going to just go ahead and go in with what I think we should just get started with. First things first. Because I told y'all a couple weeks ago after Super Bowl, I had the pleasure and the honor of meeting Coach Joe Gibbs. He's such a wonderful person. If you've never met him before, he is everything you would assume he is, right? So shout out to Joe Gibbs Racing. His racer, Denny Hamlin, won the Daytona 500. It's been all over the news, and it was just an awesome occasion because, as many of you know, his son passed away in January, J.D. Gibbs, and J.D. was pretty much ran the entire Joe Gibbs Racing. That was his thing. That was kind of like his baby, and he ran it. He actually was the one who brought Denny Hamlin in to Joe Gibbs Racing. So I don't know if anyone was able to catch the race, but it was phenomenal. It was one of those things where it almost seemed like everything was just falling into place. And Coach Gibbs was very emotional after that win, and just wanting to share what he said as they were trying to interview him about the win and just everything. He had to take a moment to say, "I'd just like to retrace for a second what happened tonight. It's the most emotional and the biggest win I've ever had in my life in anything." JD built our race team. He was the guy that ran day-to-day operations for 27 years. He invested his occupational life in our race team. So kudos, but there was a lot of shout out to JD and the Lord watching from above, and it was tight. It was really, really tight. So that was awesome to witness that. If you didn't get a chance, of course it's online and all that cool stuff. So definitely check it out. Now let's talk about the Terps. Terps basketball. Maryland Terps, they're doing pretty good, y'all. They're doing all right. They have finally, and let me just say this, I had no idea that it had been since 2007, 2008 season that they had not beat a ranked team on the road. I did not know it had been that long. But they broke that streak on Tuesday night, coming up with the W over number 21 Iowa. So, yay, Terps for doing that. That's big. That's big. So their next couple of games, because we're coming up on tournament season. We're coming up on March Madness. Let's go, let's go, let's go. So, kind of stuff gets me really excited. So, yeah. So we're coming up on March Madness in tournament season. So the next game, and I believe it's sold out, but hey, you could possibly still get tickets online. Saturday, February 23rd at 2 p.m. against Ohio State. Then next Wednesday, February 27th, they are at Penn State. So kudos to Maryland. Now, if we shout out Maryland, what we got to do, y'all? What we got to do? We have got to shout out the Georgetown Hoyas for putting the beat down on the Villanova Wildcats last night. Villanova are the NCAA defending champions, and Georgetown put in that work last night. Let me just go ahead and say that. Georgetown put in that work last night. Want to talk a little bit about that game overall and just what I saw, because, sometimes, Georgetown, it's a little up and down. No, don't know what you're going to get. But they just outplayed them. They had Villanova's card last night for sure. Two of Villanova's big men fouled out the game. Jesse Govan, Georgetown center, the Villanova, they just didn't have any answer for him. So I was kind of like, whoa, they getting manhandled a bit out there. Georgetown, the Hoyas beat them on the boards. They beat them the pace of the game was always in Georgetown's favor. So it was good. It's good. Patrick Ewing, coach of Georgetown, who was probably the most famous Hoya, Georgetown basketball athlete. I mean, I guess we can debate that, right? Not today, but could be Patrick Ewing, could be Allen Iverson. But Patrick Ewing did say, we have to build on this. It can't be just a one-game thing. We have 5 more games to go, and our dreams and our goals are to make the NCAA tournament. So that's 5 more regular season games, just to be clear. And then the team would have to win at least one Big East tournament game if they want to feel, positive about being involved in Selection Sunday and potentially playing in the tournament. So, we'll see what happens. But shout out to them on a job well done last night. That was certainly exciting for sure. We're getting some updates on technical difficulties, so just want to share that with the team, that there's some technical difficulties being documented in the conversation. So, moving on, hopefully that gets resolved very soon. Let's jump into the Washington Capitals real quick. So over the weekend, the Caps sent, which was, hey, this is a nice gift to their season ticket holders. They sent them Stanley Cup rings. I was like, well, dang. What a show of appreciation. That's big. That's big right there. That is super duper big. So, wow. If you have one, shout it out, take a picture of it, and send it in so we can see it. But they look really, really nice. Excuse me, I guess somebody could be calling. Hold on 1 second. 1 second. Oh, maybe not. At any rate. Let's see. I'm about to unplug the phone. On the air. See, here's the beauty of being live. The beauty of being live is you get to experience it when we experience it. We get to experience it when you experience it. So, are the technical difficulties resolved? Are we good on the technical difficulties? All right, perfect. Thank you very much. So, this week, also what happened with the Washington Capitals is Devontae Smith-Pelly was waived by the Capitals. And I said to myself, oh my goodness, how could this be? But we have to be realistic, right? The Capitals have since assigned him to the Hershey Bears. So once he was waived, it was kind of a known thing, or kind of something that kind of was even talked about. The Caps are getting ready to make a trade, which they did. They traded with the Los Angeles Kings and picking up Carl Hagelin. But DSP had not really, in all honesty, been really producing much this year. He was such a vital part of the team during the miraculous Stanley Cup run, and he just hasn't put up that kind of numbers this year. I mean, he had like 7 postseason goals last year, 3 in the Stanley Cup final. But just in the last 54 games, I think they have him at 4 goals and just 4 assists in 54 games. So, that's just not very good. And for Bernard, I see your comment there. I see your comment there, Bernard. DSP was my guy. That was my guy right there. That was seriously in my heart. But I knew his days were numbered. Because they're trying to make another run, let's be honest about it. I mean, which championship team isn't going to try to make a run? But at the same token, hey, you have to produce. And it just wasn't working out for him. So he is going to the Hershey Bears. So good luck to DSP. We all love DSP and loved everything that he contributed. And of course, he got a Stanley Cup. He's got a ring. So hopefully he can get that play up for the Hershey Bears and perhaps come back. You never can tell. But just a note on Carl Hagelin, as I mentioned, the Caps did trade. They traded a 2019 third-round pick and a 2020 conditional 6th-round pick. That's what the Caps gave the LA Kings in exchange for Carl Hagelin. So, welcome to DC, Carl. So happy to have you. Carl's actually not been having that great of a season himself. So, let's see what happens there. Who knows? Okay. Where can we jump? Let me jump to Bryce real quick. Let's talk Bryce Harper really fast. Because I'm trying not to give him a lot of airtime. So, everyone knows that Manny Machado signed. It was all the 2 biggest free agents, Manny Machado and Bryce Harper. Manny, on Tuesday, signed a 10-year, $300 million deal with the San Diego Padres. Folks like myself do not think that Bryce is worth more than that. But it has since come out that Bryce Harper has declined several 10-year, $300 million offers. Okay? Not sure what he's thinking, not sure what's on his mind, but at the same token, that's big if you're declining these offers. Actually, the deal that Manny Machado took was a deal that Bryce Harper turned down not 1 but 2 times. So, it has now since come out today that the Nats, and mind you, let me step back. The Nats offered him that same deal, 10 years, $300 million, and he declined it. So that was one of the offers that he received, and he's declined. But the Nats are supposedly no longer in the running for Bryce. Not at that mega buck. They ain't doing it. They said, Bryce, it's been real. And here's the thing about it. I'm laughing at Durbin. Yeah, we don't know what Bryce is on, or his agent, or his folks. We don't know. And hey, perhaps it works out for him. But I really think with Manny Machado taking this deal, which is extremely lucrative. We're not making it seem like it's a chump deal. That's 10 years, $300 million. Yeah, that's a big deal. Okay. But at the same token, how can Bryce? I mean, he can get more than that. If the team has more than that and they want him, okay, fine. But that is a huge step for a team to make, especially now. It's kind of like, okay, can you really get more than Manny? You shouldn't at all. And Durbin is over here shaking his head. No. No, 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 no. He's shaking his head no. But at the same token, we'll have to see what happens. I don't know what's going to happen. I really, really don't. What I think and what I'm making a huge assumption is it would not behoove Bryce to go much longer unless people are just giving him offers that he's consistently declining. I said all that to say, I think the Nats are going to be just fine without him. So, of course, he can probably take a shorter deal and maybe work that out with the Nats. Who knows? We still don't know what could happen. But I will say this, with spring training coming up and getting ready to start, the Nats made, in my opinion, some very good moves during this offseason that showed that they did not take this lightly and they did not just make an assumption, oh, Bryce going to come back or whatever. They're ready to move on from Bryce. They are totally okay with it. And I support that. I support what they did in a big way. I really, really do. I'm impressed with what they did, and kudos to them. I think they're going to be fine without Bryce. So, that's that. There's that, party people. That's my Bryce soapbox. If he's not a Nat, just so that it's known to everybody, I can't talk about him no more because this is a DC Sports Talk show. So, if he's not here, like I've been saying for a minute. It was interesting. I did get an article shared with me, and I shared it with some others about potential folks to replace Bryce. So we'll see what happens. One thing we could talk about, we'll see what happens. Perhaps we'll talk about it a little bit more next week. Is Orioles outfielder, longtime outfielder Adam Jones is a free agent right now. I think that's kind of been a little low under the radar, and that folks didn't know that he was a free agent, but he is. And that could potentially be someone he wants to stay in the area. He loves the area, so that could potentially be an excellent backup, very solid pickup for the Nats, given he's still available and given that Bryce gets picked up and goes somewhere else. I guess worst comes to worst, Bryce will go to the Phillies and then everybody will just pass out. But because that's the Nats, the Nats rival, but I'll kind of be okay with it. So, let's move on to the Wizards. Wizards. Shout out to Kevin Durant for winning the NBA All-Star Game MVP. He showed off and showed out like he does. So, representing, yes, he plays with Golden State, but he's from here, so let's shout him out. And really quick, wait, before I move forward, I did not know, I have to say this, I did not know that Victor Oladipo, that he's from here, I didn't know he could sing. Everybody can sing, right? But I didn't know he could, legit, sing. And he has a whole album out. I missed all of that. You go on YouTube, you can pull it up. But that, I'm sorry, I just had to, back to KD. Congratulations to him for winning MVP. Also want to shout out Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal did very well. He ended up getting 11 points. He was 4 of 11 shooting. And, of course, he was on Team LeBron. So, Team LeBron was victorious. So, that was great. And what was interesting, this is going to go into another conversation here, was the reports about Bradley Beal trying to recruit while he was down there. So that's another thing that has now, kind of come out, that the players, they try to recruit. Talk to their friends, in the league. Some of these guys have known each other for a long time. It's a different culture. They play together. They DM each other. They text each other. It's just a totally different ball game, no pun intended. But he did act as a recruiter while he was down there. Of course, he did not share who he recruited, but just some quotes directly from Bradley Beal that was reported, that he was asked multiple times, how is DC? So, we can always figure out how he responded to that. I guess in a positive way if he's trying to recruit folks to come here. But he said, the recruiting process is really going all right. It's going all right. I'm trying. This is new for me. I'm definitely getting some ears and seeing what guys are looking for. So, hey. With that being said, though, the question has come up because NBA All-Star break is over. And what should the Wizards do? Right? People have talked about tanking. People have talked about we gonna keep playing and we gonna keep going. Here's some comments that I just like to share. And then I asked this question on social media. So Steve Wright says, I say with the team, they have to make an honest run to gauge things for the offseason. Next year's team should be pretty good. Finish here is all I'm saying. They owe it to the fans that still turn out for home games. People pay for good entertainment, so they need to provide that until the close of the season. BJ Lucas says, draft spot. Definitely try to get a good draft spot. So I think that means tanking, basically. Kevin Lee says, I don't believe in trying to lose. That just sounds ridiculous. Robbie Gross says, I also say go for playoffs just because I don't think we'll get a top 5 pick anyway. Johnny Hill, good draft pick. Then he goes on to elaborate. The problem I have with the Wizards is they are a middle-of-the-road team with no ambition of being nothing more than a contender and not a champion. So as long as they stay close to the top of the East, they can feel good about themselves. And with that, they end up with a mediocre team who does well enough to make the playoffs but ends up falling short and also having a horrible draft position. Adrian Carpenter says something very similar. In terms of making a run to the playoffs to be an A seed and get swept, it would be better for the franchise long term to get a draft pick. And then I've seen other folks kind of mention, it was a lot of feedback on this one, so I definitely wanted to try to read all of them, but I couldn't get to them. So thank you again for everyone who participated in that feedback. But this is a tough thing because it's a couple different things. Because, and I try to look at clues. I've told you all before, I am not a fan at all of tanking. I'm not a fan of tanking. I'm not. If you are playing, you should be playing to be competitive, not playing to lose. Now, if you play and you're competitive and then you lose, then you lost. So, okay, you can't win them all. Maybe you can't even win most of them, but at least you tried. But don't necessarily purposely try to tank for a good draft position. I remember a comment that Dante Maynard said, the Wizards aren't going to get necessarily a good draft position anyway. I think Robbie said that as well. It's not like you're going to get a top 5 pick. And then let's be for real, Ernie is doing the picking. So, if he's picking, then it doesn't even matter. So you may as well try to at least make the playoffs. That is what I would hope these moves, with the trading of Otto Porter as well as with Markieff Morris. Yes, it got the team under the luxury tax, but I also really feel strongly that, get on the luxury tax, yes, but make it even look like there's something brewing in DC. Make it look interesting, make it look like what could potentially be. They're over here making all these faces, but but I'm just saying, like, we know we kind of know how it's going to end up. So at this point, Sherrod Oliphant, and, he mentions guys like Jabari Parker, who have a $20 million team option after this season, are going to be trying to prove why we should pick that option up after the season. Sato will be trying to prove himself as well. So it should still, if nothing else, be an audition for these guys. They need to still care. Now, do I think if they make the playoffs, they'll get swept in the first round or they'll lose the first round? Yes, I do. That would be no different than what they've done. And that's the problem. To what Durbin said, that's, Joy said they do it every year. Durbin said that's the problem. Drafting matters for sure. And we've seen other teams be successful with years of bad play. The 76ers are reaping the benefits of years of bad play. Shoot, I thought it's a couple teams that's reaping the benefits of that. Gilbert is going to the big three, but if he talking about he training like he got $100 million contract, come on back, please. If that's how you really going, we can use your help. So we can honestly use your help around these parts. But you play to win. Let's move forward. Let's try to finish strong. I think they're only down right now, 3 games behind the 8th seed. But chances are them getting higher than a 7th seed is... Joy said it for me, and I hope you heard her. I'll repeat it if you didn't. Slim to none. Them getting higher than a 7 or 8 seed. So, what's that, Derv?
The gizzards.
The gizzards. That's what the mascot looked like. I always say, like, that's not a wizard. Gee whiz is a gizzard. But at the end of the day.
Whatsoever.
Right.
The gizzards.
Yeah. It's got to be something. Everybody has to feel like they got something to prove, in my opinion. And they have to rise to the level that we see these guys, these other championship teams and the like play every single week. They come out there and play hard. They play to win. That is what championship teams do. So even if, like I said, if you come out and you lose, but intentionally tanking, while it has been effective for some organizations, I just don't think that's what the Wizards need to do. I'm not a fan of it anyway, but they need to at least try. If you lose, you lose. It don't matter if we get a top 5 pick because Ernie gonna blow it anyway. So, yeah, leadership in the locker room. It's a lot of questions. Now, let me say this really quick. Here's my thing, though, and I really believe this. If they didn't make the playoffs, some should go down. You know what I mean? Because how many passes are you going to give, Scott Brooks in particular? How many passes do you give somebody? And then you can't put it on. And Dwight Howard is coming back from his butt injury, everybody. So. He is. I couldn't even say it with a straight face. Dang, y'all. I couldn't even say it with a straight face. Oh, well. So, and the light went out. Oh, well. It's okay. So, there's that with the Wizards. As Durbin calls them, the gizzards. So, hey, check it out. We got 3 minutes left, right? Are we doing on 3 minutes? So, let's, really quick, NFL free agency is coming up. We'll be talking about this a lot more. So, last week, I mentioned folks wanting Joe Flacco, right? And then Denver has picked him up through a trade. Can't remember now, but Denver's got him. Then a report came out earlier this week that another team was interested in Joe Flacco, and that team being Washington. Now, in my mind, I'm like, why on earth would they even ask about Joe Flacco, considering there's no money for in the cap for Joe Flacco? There's just not. We're looking at a 15 to 17 million cap space. So, of course, then you see reports that say, well, they're just doing their due diligence, or they're just doing this, that, and the third. Okay, whatever you like to call it. But at the same token, why even go there with Joe Flacco? Why even go there? And there's something to be said. We know that the preference is a veteran quarterback. We know that's the preference. is a veteran quarterback. It's less risk and all those things, but still more to come, much more to come. But I said all that to say that makes me think they are definitely looking at a free agent quarterback. They need to be trying to draft a quarterback in my honest opinion, because they just don't have the money. Now, if they're still looking at free agent quarterbacks, then something tells me there's cuts coming. They are about to make room in this cap. So I don't know. I'm trying to look at clues now. And now, then, of course, now here's the other storyline of Alex might come back this year. Alex ain't come back. Why are you telling people this? Alex is done.
Keep Joe, and you wait 1 more year. Joe didn't do bad for what he had to work with.
Oh, Josh.
Yeah.
We talking about Josh Johnson. Josh Johnson did not do bad at all for what he had to work with.
For what he had to work with.
Right.
For a few games.
Yeah, right. So you might have to go Colt, Josh,
Keep the cap room.
and keep the cap room.
Still got to sign.
But it's yeah, we need
somebody at every position.
Right. And we can talk about this one a lot more. But I think we are at our time. All my beautiful and lovely people, thank you for sticking it out with us. The phone done rang, the light done went out, everything. But we had a great time. And I thank you all so much for tuning in. I deeply appreciate you all. Don't forget to invite all your family and friends that are DC sports fans. Invite them into the conversation. And I will see you all next week. Have a beautifully blessed night.
Sports is what we do. It's the fast track at peak speed, moving across the ice, blockers, hitters, B-team, beatdowns, and knockouts, doubleheaders, playoffs, touchdowns, smackdowns, on the mat or on the track, the spirit of a champion, the triple-double, make that double front flip.